STC community. My name is Noor Hussain, and I will be your online moderator for today's webinar. I'm going to start with a brief introduction of Pamela Paterson first, and then I'll just cover some basic logistical issues with the GoToMeeting software. Okay, great. Pamela Paterson is a senior STC member and is an instructor at the Humber Institute of Technology, where she teaches a course in project management. And the Humber Institute of Technology was formerly known as Humber College, so some people might remember it that way. Pamela has perfected the art of creating resumes that can be picked up by human resources systems and read by employers. In this webinar, she will cover some tips on how to make your resume better and produce the results you want. Pamela has been lecturing on resume writing for over 10 years now. She is currently writing a book on resumes, which will hopefully be out in September of this year, and is especially targeted at IT professionals and their resumes. And Pamela has been a member of the STC Toronto community since 1998. So that was a little bit about Pamela, and now I'm just going to cover some basic logistical issues with GoToMeeting. As Pamela mentioned, the first hour of the webinar will cover the mechanics of better resume writing, and then the second half will cover Q&A and general discussion. And as Pamela mentioned, we'd like to keep all of the questions and all of the comments through the chat function in GoToMeeting. So you will notice in your GoToMeeting dialog box at the bottom of the dialog box, there is a chat window that can be expanded or contracted with the plus sign. And I'm hoping everybody can send me comments or questions through that chat service. If you would like to share the question with everybody, then through the drop-down menu, you can send it to the entire audience, or if you would like to send it to me directly, then you can just select my name and send it to me directly. And then in the second hour, Pamela will go through the questions and comments. And one other point, you will notice under the meeting organizer, the name Bernard Ashwanden might appear, and instead of Pamela, and this is because we're using Bernard's GoToMeeting account. Bernard is a former president of STC Toronto, and he has let us use his account for the webinar. So for the purposes of this webinar, you can pretend that Bernard is Pamela. And just finally, this is a new format that we're trying at the Toronto STC community for holding some of the educational seminars. And we hope people will enjoy it, and it serves as a convenient option for people that are spread out across Toronto and have busy schedules. So we would like to hear your feedback on the webinar, if you liked it or if you didn't like it, or how we could improve it. And any comments can be sent to me directly at stctoronto.membership@gmail.com. And this is the same email address that you received the meeting invite from. So I hope those instructions were clear, and I'm going to hand it over to Pamela now, and I'll be on mute, as will everybody else except Pamela, and we'll chat through the chat window. All right, over to you, Pamela. Thank you.
Thank you, Hussain. And you are now on mute. Okay. So what I would like to do is go through this presentation at a nice quick pace, and then move over into the resumes and where the actual transformation of the resumes takes place. So you already know a little bit about me. My background and what shapes me to be is journalism and a master's in chemical and life sciences. I started in the federal government in strategic communications and as a senior editor, and then moved over into technical writing, including HR systems. So I was part of the team that documented and brought in the job applicant system at KPMG. And unlike a lot of people, I've seen the guts, the inside guts of an HR system, which has been very helpful in bringing all this information to you tonight. An important note for today, always use your own judgment, take what is relevant to you, and leave the rest. There are very few rules when it comes to resumes. And sometimes as I'm going through this presentation, you might say, well, that's not true for me, or that's not true in my industry. And I might absolutely agree with you. And so hence the reason for this note. Always use your own judgment, take what is relevant to you, and leave the rest. Your initial thoughts. I'd like to ask you to think to yourself, how much does your resume have to do with getting the job you want? You might think 10%, maybe 50%, okay? And I'm contending that it takes 100%, okay? So that's how much your resume has to do with getting the job you want, 100%. Because when you think about it, your resume is the first snapshot of you. It's the first, your resume, most of the time you're using systems like Monster and Workopolis, and your resume is sent out into space, and you never know when it will land. And even when you have a relationship with a recruiter, when you are sending out their resume, that recruiter may actually forward your resume to somebody else in the office who doesn't know you. So you always have to keep that in the back of your mind, that this resume is the snapshot of me, and I'm sending it out to audience. Okay? There are a number of different audiences that you need to consider in your resume. And we know from technical writing that audiences have different needs for content, and the true statement also in a resume. You need to meet your audience needs. One audience is recruiters. Okay? We know that recruiters are HR's best friend. They are our friend, but HR's best friend. They have very, very powerful databases that filter resumes. They are permanent records of interactions, so be positive, open, and flexible. There was one recruiter who told me, who actually read an entire account of my coworker to me over the telephone, and it was not a very positive account, and they would never deal with this person again because of some unprofessional manners that he had with them. And so every time you have an interaction with a recruiter, be positive, open, and flexible. If you want to enhance your chances with them, make personal connections. Keep in touch, like any relationship. They are looking for the best package of experience, personality, professionalism, reliability, integrity, and confidence. You need to be the whole package, not just good at what you do. Okay? Now, what is the reason for that? What is the reason for the best package? Because they're looking for the candidate that they think is going to get the job. Okay? Now, notice it is not the smartest person. It is not the person, the best looking person. It is the best package of a person. So when I say this statement, what I'm saying to you is whenever you have something that you think you need to improve on, to improve your best package, then do it. And it could mean anything. It could mean confidence. It could mean maybe you're nervous in an interview. Maybe you are shy over the telephone. Because whatever interaction, whatever connection you have with a recruiter may be recorded, and at the very least it's made an imprint on the recruiter about who you are. The next audience is HR. HR has a powerful filter. We know this. I worked on these systems. And they are matching the resume to the job description, manually and or automated. In the case of IT, most often, I'd say 99% of the time, it's automated if you're applying through the company's corporate system. They are looking for problems. They are not looking for a way to bring you into the company. They are looking for a way to keep you out because there's 1,000 other people behind you that they can look at. So they're looking for problems like gaps, values, experience, and fit. Fit is a really big one. Can you fit into their corporate environment? And wording is very key here in your resume, using strategic and appropriate words that fit the corporate culture. For example, if they are an aggressive startup, you focus on innovation, efficiency, and multitasking. And we're going to get more into this as we go through the presentation. Looks matter in a resume. They absolutely matter. You see this poor little guy on the right side, this poor little dog. In a resume, looks really matter. You need to have an effective layout and design. You need to use styles. I can't tell you how many resumes I've come across from technical writers that don't use styles. You need to have an attractive template, an online font, color, and white space. And I'll show you an example as we get further on into the presentation. You need to make your information very easy to find. For example, having tools sections, having the tools organized into subgroups, having highlights at the beginning of your resume, and make your resume designed for a quick scan of qualifications for the different audiences, right? Because you have a recruiter that spends maybe 3 seconds on your resume, and then he or she will know if they want to go further. But if you don't grab them in that time, in 3 seconds, they've moved on. So how do you do that? We'll get into that a little later. And format. Ensure you are using the format requested and not the newest version of Word. There's a technical writing consultant that I know. He asks for resumes in FrameMaker. And if they don't come in FrameMaker, they come in Word or PDF or some other format, he just presses delete. He doesn't even open up the file. Size matters. Most people really fret about their resume being more than 2 pages. And my position is, if it's longer than 2 pages, if it's more than 2 pages, you have more keywords and you have more chances in the search engine. And search engines, of course, work like Google. Multiple instances of keywords are even better. So keywords from the job description. That's exactly what they enter into their systems, and that's exactly how they're filtered. The more experience listed, the perception is the better candidate. Okay, so in the 10 years I've been doing this, I've had only 2 people, one was a recruiter and one was a hiring manager, tell me that they won't look at a resume or they don't like to see a resume that is longer than 2 pages in 10 years. So based on that, I'm willing to take the risk. In 10 years, over hundreds of people that I've had interactions with, if only 2 people say that they wouldn't, they don't like my resume being over 2 pages, then I'm fine with that, because that means that hundreds of people don't mind, and I have increased my chances in the search engines through more keywords. That's really, really important. Values matter. You might not think that your values matter to HR, or that HR even knows what your values are. But HR pays attention to your values and their corporate culture. Okay? When you look at these statements below, which person would you want working at your charity? The first one, maximize shareholder returns through aggressive workforce reductions. That's their values. Or the next one, restructured organization to reduce operational costs. For a charity, of course you want number 2. You want the second bullet. You really don't want Chainsaw Al coming into the charity and doing aggressive reductions. And I'd like to point out, some of you maybe have seen this already and know this already, that these 2 statements mean the same thing. It's all about how you word it. It's all about how you present yourself and present your values. And if these 2 resumes came in, one person saying aggressive workforce reductions and the other one saying reduced operational costs into a charity, I guarantee you the second person would have an advantage over the first. Do we really want that kind of a person coming into our charity?